Hello, everybody. It's time for another edition of the Anarchy News Network. I know that usually this show is all about jokes and laughter, a place to come for an hour to forget about how bad the world is. Today is not that episode. Today, we're talking about what's important. Today, as it's been for over 100 years, we're talking about inequality and injustice that's been going on in this country. If you don't want to listen to this episode because you need a break, we understand. For this episode, we're talking about protest, and we're talking about the systemic oppression of people in this country. So sit back for Anarchy News Network Number 3. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. And also hashtag say their name.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Anarchy Arena podcast, but not the Anarchy Arena podcast, because this is actually going to be the Anarchy News Network, because we're recording this on a Tuesday, and I'm going to have it out for next Tuesday, because it seems prevalent that this comes out more quickly. First things first, before we get into everything, we have everyone's favorite spiritual guru here, Mr. Yogi Devadas, is joining us once again.
Namaste, everyone. Thank you guys for having me back. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Always a pleasure to have you, buddy. And before we get into the absolute chaos that has ensued for the past, I guess, 2 weeks now it's been that this has been going on. And I use the term chaos in the most positive manner possible. Before we get into all that, however, we had some technical difficulties that did not allow us to complete the recording that we were doing on Sunday night, which in hindsight is kind of a good thing because some shit's happened between those 2 days. So now we have even more things that we can say on the subject. But before we get there, I would also like to commend SpaceX, NASA, and our favorite space dads, astronauts Doug and Bob, for making it safely to the International Space Station on the first ever crewed launch from the Florida coast. Congratulations, guys. Be safe.
Yay.
And hope you're safe. Hope you're safe when you come home and whenever that ends up being, because they haven't decided how long they're staying yet.
I wouldn't come back.
Yep. Yeah. They got off the planet at the right fucking time, didn't they?
I'd be like, no, I live in space now.
Yeah, I just live here. Just send me food. Maybe send one of my kids up to visit. They're big enough to ride that ride, right? Like, is there a height requirement? Ooh, is there a height requirement? I've never seen a short astronaut, come to think of it.
Bone density be damned. I'll just live up here. This is fine.
Yeah.
Right? I don't need bone density.
If anything, Wall-E proved we don't need that. It's fine.
Right? See, we just need floating lazy boys and everything's good to go.
Ah, shit, that'd be amazing.
That would be amazing. I'm not going to lie. I'll take a floating lazy boy. But while I was watching all of that coverage, because I literally spent 6 hours in this computer chair watching all that coverage, part of the coverage of that launch was President Chester Cheeto Dumbass making some remarks about the thing. And while he did say some very nice things about the space program and his hopes and dreams for that, he started off his comments with talking about what's been happening for the last, with this particular issue, 2 weeks, but obviously we're talking 80 years now at this point.
400 years at this point.
Well, 80, 400, however many years you'd like to admit that it was going on.
Eternity.
But eternity, yeah. But specifically what's going on right now for the past couple of weeks, dealing with the death of George Floyd is how he decided to start his talk. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is all of the rebellion and protesting and chaos and misinformation and correct information that has ensued since that started. So if you don't like the sound of that topic, we will not be offended if you turn this off. We understand it's not for everybody, but if you want to hear our opinions and our thoughts on the matter, then please continue listening. So for our opinions and thoughts on the matter, we'll do a round table to start this off. So Mr. Yogi Devadas, why don't you give us your general sweeping thoughts on the situation as a whole?
Oh, okay. My general
I know you got to take a big breath before that one.
This is very true. This is very true. So my general sweeping opinions of the entire thing is that this is a nationwide and at this point also international phenomena that is a long time coming. I personally I do side with the protesters, and how to put this, like much like something that Dr. Martin Luther King once said, that this is a fight not just for the freedom of a particular ethnic group. It is a fight for the soul of the country, because this is a reaction to systemic oppressions and things like racism and xenophobia that are built into our systems. And I do agree with the idea that if even one set of us does not have justice, does not have access to common human dignity and human rights, then it is actually an impediment on all of our freedoms and all of our ability to be the fully potential human beings that we can. So I guess that's my general opinion on it.
You know what I like about having you on this show, Yogi?
What?
You are one eloquent ass motherfucker.
Oh, dear.
Now, for a slightly less eloquent ass motherfucker, John, that was a joke.
No, it's okay. You're right. Obviously, I side with the protesters. I do. I've seen it personally happen, like in front of my eyes. Hell, I've had friends, people I consider family, have to deal with this not only systemically racist but systemically classist oppression system. And I understand that not every cop is a bastard. I don't really subscribe to that thought process. I do believe that good cops need to grow a fucking spine and start reporting this shit before it happens. Because racism doesn't happen on the street. It happens in the fucking break room when the asshole's telling the story and telling racist jokes and talking about how he had this 16-year-old kid down on his fucking, standing on his fucking chest and making him cry. I think that our country could do better, obviously. And I would actually... Can I quote one of the founders real quick? Would y'all be okay with that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Why don't you pull up a quote for us?
One of the founders of the great nation that we live in, or at least once was a great nation that we lived in, Thomas Jefferson, who, yes, was a racist piece of shit and had slaves, but he has a point. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which connected them with another, and to assume among powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. That's the real beginning of the Declaration of Independence. I know everyone wants to talk about we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that part is just as important. But the part before it, where it's talking about the dissolution of the political bands that hold you back and hold people down, that's the important message that you will not be taught in your public schools.
That's very true.
Yes,
Most of us
I
aren't
support
required to.
I support Black Lives Matters. I support these protests. I think we should keep going with it. And the fact that now we have a fascist president, and I am saying that as a fact, we need to be even more unruly.
Oh, no, John, didn't you hear? We're the fascists. Didn't you know that?
Oh, really?
Oh, I know.
Yeah, apparently we're the fascists.
Oh, I know. The far left is the real fascists. And I'm like,
right?
I
And
don't
terrorists.
I don't think you understand how the political compass works. Those aren't the no.
I don't even think he understands how
No.
a real compass works, let alone a political compass. Shit.
Fair enough. But and you know, actually, John, if I may go off what you said a little bit, like what in the Declaration of Independence, what's right after the "we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal" bit? What's right after that? After it says life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, it says that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government laying its foundations on such principles.
Again, another part that we're not required to memorize throughout school.
I know,
Right.
Which we ought to be.
So that's the thing, folks. We need to stop looking at this as black and white. It ain't that shit anymore. It's not. This is police departments deciding that oppression is better than serving. This is a government that has decided that oppression is more shutting you up is more important to the national security than you being able to use your First Amendment rights. This is what this is about now.
Yes, you're 100% correct.
And sorry, I know I'm ranting, but
no, you?
Yeah, I know, right?
Well, I mean, to be perfectly fair, it's the right kind of time to be angry about what's going on. To be fair,
right?
Absolutely. If there was ever a time for ranting, this is now.
We need, and sorry, I'm trying to focus my thoughts. And I'm just frustrated, man. I'm angry. How the fuck did we get to this point? At what point did the people that say they love the Constitution, love this country, love their freedoms, surrender them just so they can feel better, just so they can be more in power, even though they already were in power? Like it blows my fucking mind. And I don't know, man. I'm fucking angry.
Well, I mean,
as you should be, as everybody should be. I think if you're not angered by this situation, then either A, you're not paying attention close enough, or B, you just don't care about anything in general. Because if this doesn't get under your skin, then obviously nothing gets under your skin. In which case, you need to see a therapist.
You know,
when you're allowed to see therapists again, whenever that is.
You know, possibly. But it's so weird too, because the whole I don't subscribe. I also, like John, don't subscribe to the theory that just because you're a police officer, it makes you a bad person or a horrible person. But I will say this: the culture and the structure and the powers given to the police do have a corrupting nature. I do believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that the hierarchy and structure of policing in the United States is one in which they are intrinsically used as tools of force for the state and individuals who the state aligns themselves with. That they are not used as peacekeeping officers to protect everyday citizens as much as they say that they are. And it's one of those things where, okay, like, here's a good thing, right? You ask, what is it with the racism in the police department? Okay, well, you have a structure in which a lot of negligible power to interact with everyday citizens on a violent level is given to people who, quite honestly, a lot of times do not have enough proper training, do not have enough psych eval going into this. Like, example, I just found out, did you know that in I think it's in Virginia? I know for a fact this is in Virginia. I don't know about other states, but it literally takes 3 times as long to be licensed as a cosmetologist than it does to be a police officer.
Yeah, it's 8 weeks of training.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me one bit. You want another scary fact? At least for the department that my father used to work for, you know what score you had to pass on the shooting portion of your qualification to become a police officer was? Take a guess. If you had to put a percentage on it.
Oh God, I'm
60.
you know what? I'm gonna lowball it. I'm gonna say 48.
71%. 71% is a passing grade. Now, for those of us that went to high school on a 6-point grading scale, that's a D plus.
Yeah.
You only have to have a D plus in shooting to pass that section to be a cop. In some cases, obviously, different departments, different states vary. But in the case that I'm aware of, a D plus is what's required.
And that's just one thing.
If you go into a career as a public servant that allows you to carry a weapon and allows and gives you certain license to shoot to harm or kill depending on the circumstance, I really, really demand that you have a higher scoring average than that.
Agreed.
But yeah, so
I beat that at 13. At 13, I was scoring better than guys who were requalifying.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you have like this. You have this this infrastructure, this built-in thing where it's like, yeah, there's a lot of power given. There's a lot of negligible power, honestly, given to these people. You have power and weapons given to them. Not a lot of oversight. Not enough training. Definitely not enough psychological evaluation of people who go into it and what the job actually does to them. And you put them in a position of absolute power where they have the ability to take out literally any little frustration or any power play that they have in their head on citizens. And then you factor into that, because of systemic racism in the United States, people who like people of color, people who are Black, people who are Latino, people who are Middle Eastern, they are systemically the victims of racism that still exists in the country and are honestly treated like second-class citizens for most of the time. And then it's not really hard to see why it is that all this happens to Black men and women, Latino men and women, Middle Eastern men and women. It's not that hard to put that together. It's like, why is there racism in the police department? Because the police department and the way that these people are trained is built on a dichotomy of power abuse, and obviously that means they're going to go after the most vulnerable people.
Right. And the other part of it is, and I know people say this, and it's true, poor white people also get fucked over.
Yes, this is true. There's also a classist element to this.
Yeah.
Like,
poor white
absolutely
people get fucked over too. So that's the reason why I don't understand when these, when my fellow rednecks take the stance of the cops. I've grown up. I didn't grow up in a trailer park, but I did grow up on a goat farm. So that's my flavor of country.
There's not much of a difference, for the record.
Well, the difference is that we have double wides instead of single wides.
Okay. Y'all living in luxury out there.
Exactly. I've never seen a cop show up and things went well. Ever.
Yeah,
I've never seen a cop show up and things went perfectly okay. Usually it leads to a family member being taken away and a family being broken up. And it's like, I don't get why people take the side of the oppressor in this situation, especially after what fucking our president said not even 48 hours ago.
Oh,
when he said
about how he's essentially going to be declaring martial law if the governors don't do it.
Right.
Correct.
Which he does have legal precedent to do that. So,
unfortunately,
what
I said, you said he does or doesn't?
Does not.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you said does.
Yeah, he does not. He, just like he does not have the authority to call an anti-fascist a domestic terrorist organization. But
correct.
I know, right?
Especially considering from what we've seen, especially about the bait brick thing, that it's most definitely the other side who's leaving out boxes and tons of bait bricks, hoping that the protesters get out of control, specifically for that purpose. Which, if you're one of those people that's dropping those off, I hope
Fuck
you
you.
come down with COVID-19.
Yeah.
I don't want you dead because I want you to have to live through this and grow and change. I just want you to come down with the damn virus.
Can I also point out, okay, there's been video evidence of both police and white supremacist groups doing that, like leaving bricks in places.
Yes.
Can I ask, what type of monumental balls do you have to have? It's like, yeah, I can, like, especially the police officers who are doing it. Yeah, we can do this in broad daylight, like not really hidden away or covering our faces or our car number. No one has phones. That's fine.
I don't think it has anything to do with the balls. I think it has to do with the gall. Like they don't care. They don't care anymore. They're the opposite side of the spectrum of those that are protesting are fed up and they don't care anymore. They are the opposite side of the spectrum. They don't care. They just want to get those people to shut up. That's got to be what it is. They just stopped caring whether or not they get caught or anything like that. I want to go back to a point John made a few minutes ago about his experience with cops. This was a bone of contention between him and I the other day. So much so the fact that when we initially did this recording, we warned Yogi ahead of time that we'd had a rather heated discussion about it, that he might have to be a mediator / mental guru for us. But that conversation, when we tried to record last time, went rather well, and there was no sniping or yelling back and forth and whatnot. We're able to be adults when we have to be, unlike some other people in the country that may or may not sit in a house on Pennsylvania Avenue. Anyway, John had that experience with cops, which, again, is a weird thing for me because I have the exact opposite. Saying that, however, Minneapolis should be disappointed themselves that it took them that long to arrest officer number 1, as we're going to refer to him. We're not going to give his name because he doesn't deserve that shit. They should be disappointed themselves that it took them that long to arrest officer number 1. They should be disappointed that they haven't arrested officers 2, 3, and 4 yet. And the fact that they have a culture in their department that let officers 2, 3, and 4 just stand by and not do a thing and not immediately get written off the force is ridiculous. Also, now finding out that officer number 1 had many, many, many prior complaints, including dealing with the victim, George Floyd. The fact that this guy kept his job until this is a proof of concept that there are some, if not many, police departments that have this serious, serious problem, and it needs to stop. The second that all of this became obvious and it was shown and there was concrete evidence that it happened, aka the video coming out, all 4 of them should have been fired and charged on the spot.
Well, you know who was in charge as the DA, right? Amy Klobuchar.
She's the DA.
Yes. She's the one that got all these complaints and didn't say a fucking word.
That's disconcerting.
It
considering who someone might pick as their running mate. Hopefully he will not now after that.
Well, I don't think he's going to pick her now.
No. Although I did see a picture earlier of him and Obama next together. I was like, is there any law that says that he can't pick Obama as his running mate? Because I'm just saying.
Shit, I'd love to see that, but I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen either. I'm just not sure there's a law that says he can't. So therefore, do it, Joe. Go ahead, Sleepy Joe. Pick him up.
Sleepy Joe.
But and I know we're laughing, we're making jokes, but understand we are taking this very seriously. We actually had people we know who went to protest, who did get tear gas thrown at them and rubber bullets shot at them.
Yes, we did.
We have a couple of friends
in our D&D group that you'll be hearing that episode soon, who went out to support the protests in our town. And as the initial protest was set for the town square, and it had a set time, and they disbanded at that set time. There was a lot of them, and they walked en masse out of the area. Okay, there's no problem with that. There was nothing telling them that they couldn't do that. However, as they apparently attempted to cross the street, they were, quote unquote, and I say this with huge fucking air quotes, cited for blocking up the street, which then caused some more things to happen, which then caused the local police department to tell them, hey, if you don't get out of the street, we're going to hit you with tear gas. Boom. It's literally that quick. We watched the video.
They even get to gas. Like, they just said, we're going to hit you with throws the tear gas canister.
Exactly. So, and MPD has some things to answer for.
They do. Our mayor called a curfew at 6:30.
The governor The governor called a curfew.
He did, but the mayor started it.
Yes.
The mayor called a curfew at 6:30. Hey, Yogi, you want to guess when he called that?
Maybe like 10 minutes before 6:30.
5 minutes after.
Wow, I gave him too much credit. That's scary.
You did.
Yeah, no, like we had a similar. We had a similar situation where, okay, so in Jersey, the whole state does not have a curfew. At least I don't think it does, but it didn't start out that way. Yesterday, it was like certain counties and areas, depending on, not its, from what I understand, not its proximity to protests, but its proximity to places that were being reported as riotous specifically. But that's that's very subjective.
Right.
So like my entire county is currently under a 7:00 curfew. But no, I want to point this out. So, the capital of New Jersey is Trenton. And I was actually out the other day for a couple hours. I wasn't there for the whole day, but I was actually out with the protest for a couple hours. And I gotta say, this is what I find so distasteful about the way my local areas are handling this. It was completely peaceful. There was virtually no harsh action between like the protesters and the police. There was a little agitation, but there was no it was a peaceful protest. There was no huge amounts of violence. And then at around 7:00, 7:30 at night, a bunch of people started coming in from outside the city, like coming in from Philadelphia, coming in from Elizabeth, coming in from a couple different places. And they came in with the express excuse of, they were essentially doing the Jake Paul thing, just using it as an excuse to break shit. And
they're probably Jake Paul fans too.
Well, I'm not sure, because it was mixed race, and I'm not sure that that people who aren't like privileged white people watch Jake Paul. So
fair enough. If you don't know who Jake Paul is, by the way, it's okay. You're better off. You don't need to know who he is.
Yeah, you don't.
If you know who Jake Paul is, you're our people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But and that's what caused like the riot squads and the curfew and everything to come out. Now, I was actually back home before that happened, but here's the thing, though. The fact that the local news stations are literally only showing that, and I'm like, of
course they are.
I'm like, there was over 10 hours of peaceful, non-violent, non-cooperation.
But that doesn't fit with the narrative, and it doesn't boost their media ratings.
Exactly.
So they don't want to show that. That's quote-unquote boring. We can't show that. Oh, wait, some people got fucked up for doing dumb shit. Now we'll show that. That'll boost our ratings. People tune in for that shit.
Exactly.
So we can blame the media for a lot of this, too, for over-sensationalizing a large portion of it. There have been some rays of hope in this. I found this out right before we started recording, but apparently one of the protests that was going on in Nashville last night, up on the Capitol building, there was Tennessee National Guard there, and the crowd continued to chant, "Put down your shields, put down your shields." And you know what happened? They put them down. Every single member of the National Guard standing on the Capitol building turned around and, in what almost seemed like an assembly line fashion, put down their shields and then just stood right back where they were with their arms crossed, and that's it. Some of them were cheering or clapping in the air or something like that, but they held their ground. And that's a ray of hope.
That is what you need to focus on.
Yes.
Everyone's afraid that once the military gets involved, it's just going to be absolute chaos. The people that are in the military are people. They're not robots. There's a whole spectrum of political beliefs in our military. It's not all just right wings.
I mean, it's
not every.
I mean, if I may, it's also because, how to put it, with the military, and this is like a big difference between the military and the police. The military has, regardless of what you think of, because look, I am no big fan of the various campaigns and war efforts that the United States military has been involved in. No question, I'm not a fan of most of them. That being said, I have a lot of respect for soldiers. I have a lot of respect for the men and women in the armed forces. I have a lot of respect for the fact that they are sworn to, at the cost of their life, defend, specifically protect and defend the American people, regardless of like what the people who are at the top of chain of command and direct where they go and what they do say. They are trained to do that, and they do have and they are trained in dealing with high intensity situations a lot damn more than the police are. And
yes,
you know, and I think something that really shows the dichotomy of that is that what Chris just said, and then you think about like the videos that are coming in from Seattle, where there were peaceful protesters on their side of the barricade, not trying to breach it, not trying to do anything, not harassing the police, not throwing anything at the police in Seattle, and they were simply chanting over and over again, "We don't see a riot here, put down your riot gear." And the response of the police was to start to fire rubber bullets and beanbags into the crowd. And then as the crowd started to run away, no one, by the way, tried to breach the fence and attack the police. Everyone ran away for safety. Then they started opening fire with more bullets and with tear gas canisters.
Right.
Now, I would like to clarify, while that is absolutely deplorable and horrible, I would like to clarify that probably was not an order given by anyone there on the ground. I guarantee that was an order from someone sitting at their headquarters. I would find it very hard to believe that anyone on that order gave, or anyone on the ground gave that order. And if you did, turn in your gun and badge now, you piece of shit. Also, if you're the police chief or deputy chief that gave that order while you were sitting safely behind a desk, resign now, you piece of shit.
Well, it's also, Chris, it might not have been like an order given. You could just have like someone like what you just need one officer to lose composure and it can start a chain reaction.
And I understand it's a high intensity situation. Nerves are probably running extremely high. There's anxiety, there's stress. And if it was a mistake, okay, come forward and admit, shit, guys, I made a mistake. My finger slipped. I was inside the trigger guard and I shouldn't have been. I fucked up. Punish me how you see fit. All right, thank you for, being honest. If you did it on purpose, you're a piece of shit and you need to go the fuck away. Even if you're willing to come forward and say you did it, you still need to go the fuck away if you did it on purpose. Again, mistakes happen. Accidents happen. I get that. I would love to believe that that's how this started, was an accident and that got out of control. With everything else going on, I find that hard to believe.
Oh, no, I totally don't believe it's an accident.
Yeah, no, I'm more subscribing to the theory that order came from somebody sitting behind a desk at their headquarters saying, nope, just do it. Fuck them. Which in Seattle, of all places, is weird.
Well, I my heart breaks for this shit. Yogi knows, because last night I was messaging him. I was asking him, I was like, dude, because I still stream, and I was conflicted. I didn't want to take away from a message. I didn't want to take away from the movement. I was like, dude, do I stream or do I not? Like, should I not stream because it might be a distraction and it may pull people away from looking at this, or do I do it anyways because we need a little bit of levity, we need a little bit of deflation so we can not constantly be anxious and wound up. And well I think, let me see, I'll pull it up real quick.
While he's pulling that up, I'd like to say I had the same little crisis this morning because we have an automatic tweet that goes out when a new episode is published. We're recording this on a Tuesday. We had an episode that came out this morning. It was pre-scheduled. It was pre-recorded and everything before everything went nuts balls. And I put up a secondary tweet saying, look, all this was pre-recorded, pre-scheduled. We're not trying to take away from everything. We here at the show, we hear you, we see you, we stand with you, and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Right. And oh, wait, John?
I was going to say, Yogi basically said, I'd say that if you feel you have the strength to stream and to be a source of either joy, laughter, or enlightenment for both yourself and others, then you should.
And this is why Yogi's our spiritual guru.
He is.
You know what it is? And look, I'll say this to both of you again right now, and I'll say this to anyone who listens to this who is a content creator in any capacity, and you are conflicted about this is what I will say. Okay. In any campaign, in any act of civil disobedience, in any confrontation like this, there are times where we have to be like soldiers, where we have to be like advocates, where we have to be in the field, so to speak, of whatever the fight is, whether it's in society or in the streets or in sharing like information and allowing for the freedom of information to flow, and connecting people. But there are also times when to be able to fight, you need to take a step back and take respite and take rest and solace for yourself to re-strengthen so that you can go out and be that best advocate, that best activist, that best fighter, that best human being that you possibly can. So what I'll say to content creators is that doesn't mean that we do one or the other. That means that, yes, we do things like, example, with this episode that we're recording right now, we're talking about things. We are bringing attention to things. We are trying to stand in solidarity with our brothers and sisters of color who are facing this oppression and this demonization, and this victimization. While at the same time, we should also, every so often, it's okay for us to provide content which is humorful, which does give levity, which does give joy, which does give people the ability to take respite and have a little bit of laughter. Because, how to put it, man, if you lose sight of that stuff, that makes humanity and being alive enjoyable, then what are you even fighting for?
Exactly.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. You know, even if it's something as simple as you were out at one of these events and you need to decompress afterwards, you need something to decompress. Watch something funny. Listen to a funny ass podcast. Listen to us three ramble on about shit. You know, what have you. Sometimes you just need something to decompress. And yeah, no, I agree with you on the content creator thing. If you think you can be a source of decompression or a source of comedic relief's not the right term, but comedic relief, and you feel comfortable doing that right now, fucking go for it. Just don't put your foot in your mouth.
True. And if you are putting your foot in the mouth, let's be real here. You thought that the entire time. So
it's true.
Fuck you. You've never been an ally. You never will be an ally. I know that may be a little divisive, and to be fair, I am a very divisive person.
Not you.
What?
Yeah, I know. Yogi, can you believe what he's saying? Oh my God.
No.
Not John. No.
And it's also not like these are divisive times. What?
No, not the slightest. Right? Everything's hunky dory, right?
But
also, I'll never use the term hunky dory ever again.
Don't ever do that. That was terrible.
Thank you.
Like, that was so white it hurt me.
My ancestors are like kicking me with horse legs. It's terrible.
I feel like I should be eating a piece of cheese right now while saying that. That's how white that was.
Oh, Jesus.
Did you
just saltine?
Did you just offer me cheese? I'd love some.
Right? We're not white. We're saltine Americans, and goddamn it, we love cheese.
Nah, shit, we crackers.
Yes, you are.
But we're burnt crackers. You know, we get it.
Fair.
It's like, and we're just talking about the protests right now. Let's look at what the president has done. First off,
oh God,
he literally tear gassed and used the police to beat people out of a photo op.
Yep,
of a church. He tear gassed and used police brutality to evict from a place. Okay, so St. John's, it was damaged in the riots. in and of itself, that's terrible. At the same time, the clergy of that church, which is an Episcopal church, the clergy of that church hold nothing against the protesters or the rioters whatsoever. They understand. They issued statements saying like, no, we get what's going on. We get that people are angry and people should be angry in spite of everything that's happened. Please, if you need rest, if you need medical aid, if you need anything, please come to the church. That's what they were doing. They were using the church, the clergy of this church and the seminarians who work with that clergy were using St. John's as a place to take care of protesters and people on the street. And he's not a man. He's
motherfucker.
Nope. He is a monster at this point. He came in with police and forcibly tear gassed and with police brutality evicted people from that place just so he can stand in front of the church and hold the Bible upside down and backwards, by the way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if you watch the video of that whole thing, a reporter asks him, "Is that your Bible?" He goes, "Well, it's a Bible." Like, oh, okay. Also, there's sirens in the background, and someone asks him, "Where do you think those are headed?" He goes, I don't know, probably the White House. Are you that much of an egomaniac? Oh, wait, yes, you are. Also, when they were in front of the White House, where was he? With all the lights off and in a bunker underneath, because he was scared. I guess he's got something to be scared of, doesn't he?
He sure does. He created this entire situation. He created it. Him and his lackeys created this entire fucking situation. COVID-19,
100%.
the economic crisis that we've been dealing with and still dealing with, the oppressive tactics that police employ. This is all they're doing. And I know the last episode we did this with Yogi, we talked about our political leanings. I don't give a fuck if you are conservative or liberal or anarchist or socialist or anything but fascist at this point. You have to acknowledge this. If you don't acknowledge it, then you are a fascist, flat out.
Agreed.
And like at this point in November, we got to get this fucker out. And we got to get everyone that's associated with him out.
Hey man, you know how to put it. Silence is violence at this point.
Exactly. If you're not saying anything and you're just playing the, well, I see both sides of an argument, there are no both sides of this fucking argument at all. Sorry.
It's one thing to say, look, I don't know enough about the situation to comment. However, I support and stand with you, and then back away and not say anything else after that. Okay, at least you're admitting that. At least you're admitting that you don't know enough to make an informed comment, and you're letting them have their space. Even that's acceptable. But to say absolutely nothing, no.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. When it comes to like the issue of like seeing both sides, or like, oh, we know we should sympathize with the police and all this other stuff. Look. Do you want to hear the most radical comment I'm willing to make about that? In honesty?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Okay. I have compassion for the police in as much as the systems that place them there, the systems that use them, the systems of both the police hierarchy, from my perspective, both the neo-global capitalists as well as the fascistic elements of the state that control them, and give them their orders and basically turn them into what they are. I have enough compassion for the police in as much as I recognize that those are also human beings. Those are pieces of conscious awareness, the same as I, who, because of circumstance, have been turned into tools of oppression and therefore do not have their own human dignity because they are not operating in a truly humanistic, compassionate way, and they are being like conditioned to do so and to believe that it's all right to do so. I have as much compassion for them as to say that the systems that they work in turn them into monsters. And I have nothing but contempt for any system that does that to the human condition, that does that to the human spirit.
Yeah.
I would 100% agree with that. And it's not just those systems; it's the media system as well, who has, for years and years glorified and over-glorified and oversimplified and incorrectly shown things about what it is to be a cop or all that have made the situation worse, because now you get kids going into the academy thinking, oh, it's going to be like that? Cool, I get to do this now. No, you don't actually, and they never quite get it all out of them. I did see something earlier that made me really sad for this particular department. I forget where it was that I saw this at, but they took down the American flag in front of their state's justice center and put up the thin blue line flag. And the only thing I could think when I saw that was, guys, I get what you're hopefully trying to do, but wrong move. Really, really wrong move right now.
I don't even know what the fuck they're trying to do with that. Like, what's the fucking point?
What I hope they're trying to do is, what I would hope that they were trying to do with that is send a message to the rest of the officers out there in the country of just stay safe. This is us saying, hey, please stay safe. If that's what they were going for or something to that effect, I get what they were trying for. But bad move. If it's not what they were trying for and they were basically like, fuck everybody except the police, then no, screw all of you. It really depends on what their intent was.
It's hard to decipher intent from that, because simply for the fact that symbol, in my opinion, is an oppressive symbol.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Which is not what it's supposed to be. The thin blue line is supposed to be for police remembrance, for officers who've fallen in the line of duty. I'm probably going to catch hell for this, but one of my tattoos involves the thin blue line for guys that my father knew who passed in the line of duty. That's what it's supposed to be about, and it's not about that anymore.
So I'm going to ask this simply for the fact that I don't how to put it, like Romany Traveler, ain't no cops in my family. I don't know how else to put that.
Poor white trash. I have no cops. Well, on my side.
Well, there you go. But okay, so the thin blue line flag.
Yes.
Like, okay, how old is that symbol?
I can't give you an exact date without looking it up, which I can do. I do know that it comes out of the Fraternal Order of Police, which is basically like a fraternity for police officers. They do provide a lot of good things, especially for guys who have an issue with the job and can't go back on for whatever reason. They do provide a lot of support. So I'm pretty sure it's as old, if not slightly younger, than the Fraternal Order of Police. But I can look that up, in fact, and give you accurate information.
Okay, let me put you this way. Do you remember seeing that symbol as a kid?
No, I don't. So I would assume that it's had to have come at least within the last 20 years.
Okay. Okay.
And it's not just the flag. There is just the straight up thin blue line symbol. Where the flag version came from, I think that's just a graphic designer who got clever with it, and that started getting very creative.
Okay. Then this is what I will say about that.
1950s, for the record, is where the actual, not the flag version, but the thin blue line itself started, was in the 1950s.
Okay. All right. So when it comes to the thin blue line flag, I don't know exactly how old that flag is. I don't know if it precedes what I'm about to say or it was created by what I'm about to say. I do not know. But either way, it has become a symbol of the Blue Lives Matter concept, which is not the same as saying, hey, police are people. Blue Lives Matter, much like all lives matter, was something that started being said specifically to take legitimacy away from Black Lives Matter. So I just want to point this out, regardless of what anyone out there interprets it to be personally, the history of it is, it was there to delegitimize Black Lives Matter and to take the conversation away from the sufferings of the POC community. Now,
oh, you're 100% right.
Yeah. So regardless of if the people who put that flag up, regardless of if they meant it just in solidarity of other officers or to stay safe, it doesn't matter. They're using something that has been used as a symbol of delegitimacy and the blue wall of silence and of oppression of POC people as that. So regardless of what their intention was, it's wrong. I'm just going to say that. That's just my opinion.
And you're not wrong about that, which again, as a lot of things have become lately where symbols get twisted to mean other things, it's kind of a sad fact that that's what that has to mean now. It should never have meant that. And I've said this before on another episode, and I've said this to John personally, is that, what the police are supposed to represent is not what they represent anymore. The idea that you're supposed to have when you see that uniform is not what anyone has anymore. That when you see that uniform, it's supposed to be somebody is there to help you, to protect you, and someone that is above reproach. That is what that uniform is supposed to mean, and it simply doesn't anymore. And again, my dad's a cop. Obviously, I've known good cops. There are good cops out there. That being said, even they have to admit that at this point, that they know that no one looks at that uniform the same way. And that's sad.
It's the reason why you don't see people fighting firefighters.
Right.
They do basically the same. Supposedly, they do the same job. They come there to solve your life-threatening problem.
Now, firefighters are a special breed. These are the motherfuckers that run into burning buildings. So, you got to be a special kind of crazy to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These firefighters go into these buildings, know it's a dangerous situation, know it's going to be a high-tension situation, knowing that they may not come home alive from any call, like cops supposedly do. What's the difference? Firefighters aren't going there to break up communities and kill people and to hurt people. Some cops are. Especially the cops that are doing this shit.
Yeah, it's that thing that, like, okay, what's great about firefighters? What's great about EMTs? What's great about social workers? What's great about these levels of public servants is that they are public servants. That they do not have exclusive legalized rights to violence against people. And 2, the core of their job is and always has been service to the public, and there's not really any other way to do that job. Whereas when it comes to the police, especially in this country and especially the way we have them structured, they are so easily used as tools of violence.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's almost hard to know because they're other than being supportive in whatever capacity you feel comfortable being supportive, there's almost no right way to my words are getting scrambled, so I apologize here. There's almost no right way to talk about it because no matter what you say, and I'm sure someone's going to take this and go, oh, they're blah, 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 and we're totally not. And that's another part of this, that everyone's twisting words and twisting things to be what they're not because, oh, yeah, didn't you know? Us over here who are protest supporters and protesters in general, we're fascists and terrorists now.
Yeah, that's the exact opposite of what we are.
Yeah, exactly. So there is an example of things being twisted. Those of you that listen to this show and also watch Fox News, you're probably a very, very, very small bit of our user base. But those of you that do, I just pissed all of you off. But that's okay. We didn't really need you anyway.
If anyone who is a Fox News supporter or a Trumper or a neo-fascist for any reason listens to either this show or knows me from my online work whatsoever, do me a favor. Unsubscribe from me, defollow me. I really don't need you in my base.
And I'll say it in not so nice terms. If you are a fascist bootlicker who traded your fucking freedoms for a red hat, you can fuck off and never fucking talk to me again. Ever. There. I said it.
Well, no one's surprised. And it's very easy for you to say because, well, you've been saying it for 4 years now.
Yeah. My tune hasn't changed.
No, just more vehemently so now. Okay. Before we wrap up here, let's get everybody's final closing thoughts and anything they'd like to say to the community right now. And once again, we'll start with you, Yogi.
Okay. So what I have to say to absolutely everyone who will listen to this, whether you are a protester, whether you're staying in your house, I just want you to know that I love you. I see you. I support you. Regardless of what your ethnic, racial background is, regardless of your gender, regardless of anything, if you are a human being, a fellow traveler on this planet, you are my brother, you are my sister, you are my family, and I want you to be safe. And I want you to be able to live in a country and in a society that provides you all of the ability to be your fullest potential of self. And what I will say is to non-POC people who are going out into the streets to protest, one, please do not act a fool. Please do not give in to agitating violence. Being on the defensive is one thing. Being on the offensive is not right in this case. And it delegitimizes the movement. So please, if you're going out there, go out there to be on the defensive, go out there to be a witness. And if you are a white person, you have the ability to stand in the way of police brutality and your POC brothers and sisters. Because statistically, it has been shown again and again that the police are less likely to brutally victimize white people than they are Black and Hispanic people. So you do have your place in this. Please, everybody needs to stand together in this.
That was, once again, Yogi Devadas, one of the most eloquent people that we know. The next two comments are going to be far less eloquent, but just as meaningful. John, I'll let you go, and then I'll wrap us up.
I'd like to start with a quote from Gandhi.
Man, are the quotes today.
I am. We are to teach real peace in this world. And if we are to carry on a real war against war, we shall have to begin with the children. Let me explain what that means, at least my interpretation. If you have young ones out there and you don't know what to tell them, don't tell them anything. Listen. That also works if you're white and you have no fucking clue what it's like to be an oppressed person. Don't talk to them. Don't preach at them. Listen to them. It's time to start listening. I know the world is fucking crazy and it's full of hate. But hate is a much smaller force than love will always be. Love will always defeat hate if you embrace it. There's a lot of things to hate in the world, but there are infinitely more things to love, and we need to love them. We need to embrace that which brings us joy, which brings us love, whether it be art, whether it be music, whether it be movies, conversations, friendships. You need to embrace that right now because that is what's going to give you your freedom. That is what's going to break the chains of oppression. I understand we're angry, and I'm not even... I do not support violence, but I understand why. But don't forget why you're doing this. Why you're doing this is because you love something. It's because you love people. So remember that and keep fighting for your love, not for your hate. That's all I got.
Rather eloquent for you. I'm impressed and moved, as everyone listening should be. Okay, I'll take the last bit here. I want to talk to a couple groups of people. First off, I go back to work on Monday, and a lot of the people that I work with are people of color. And I'm not going to know what to say to them because I'm a middle-class white kid who grew up in suburbia, moved to suburbia, and bought a house in suburbia. So I will never understand, and I won't even pretend to understand. And all I can say is, if you need me, I'm there. If you need me to go with you so you feel safer, call me. If you need someone to talk to afterwards, just to vent, call me. Come to my house. Have a beer with me. I think we're allowed to do that again. To the people who are going out there, please be safe, be smart. If you see someone not being safe or not being smart, please try to rectify that situation, because once one person begins to be unsafe, it ends up being a rolling effect, and a lot of people can get unsafe. So if you're out there and you're taking part in these events, keep yourself safe and keep the people around you safe, and stay smart and try and keep the people around you smart. To any officers of the law that may be listening, I can't imagine the position that hopefully a greater majority than we know are in right now. Those of you that are good and decent men and women, I can't imagine the position you're being put in right now. Do the right thing. If you see it, come forward. If you've ever been one of those people, turn your shit in now. I have no sympathy for officers 1 through 4, assuming that officers 2, 3, and 4 get arrested as well. Let's face it, you're not going to survive your first week in prison, any of you. And this might be harsh, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah, hopefully you can't breathe either.
Yeah, really. So basically my message is, everybody do what you need to do. Be safe about it. Be smart about it. Whatever you need to do to feel right about this. If you know me personally and you need to decompress, or you need someone to help you feel safe, or you just want someone to be there with you, call. It's all you ever have to do is call.
Yeah.
And with that, we're going to go ahead and close out this episode. Mr. Yogi Devadas, thank you for joining us once again. This is your 3rd show and 2nd Anarchy News Network.
I know I'm becoming popular for some reason. I don't understand why, but I'm grateful.
Might have to add you to the cast permanently.
Oh my goodness. Well, again, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to come on here, and not just to talk to 2 people who I really do appreciate and love talking to, because you guys are great, but also for the ability to have like a bit of an extra platform and maybe hopefully communicate something positive to a wider audience of people. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're more welcome.
Absolutely. Anytime. You know that we love having you on here. And for everyone listening, thank you for listening to this episode. Hopefully you were able to stick through it. Again, we understand that politics and sometimes world events aren't everybody's cup of tea, but this was important, and this episode will be getting out as quickly as it possibly can. That being said, if there is no episode uploaded directly after this one, it's because we are letting other people have that space, unless we think we have something funny to say to help lighten the mood and have somebody to decompress on. So maybe the next time you hear from us, it'll be something humorous and completely off topic, just to help you get away for a little bit. If we can do that, then we'd like to help. That being said, I have been Chris the Metal Barrett.
I've been John the Joker.
There you go. There it was. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna have to.
I'm usually
cut that
last.
silence down. Well, there's no Billy here. We already said goodbye to Yogi. Now we're gonna say goodbye to everybody. Everybody, just wave at your microphones. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.